Yeah. It's going? Yep.
Yes! Yes! All right! No! Watch your head! Make him put a helmet on.
All right, so for whatever reason, we have made it to the end of a somewhat bashy, skinny, sort of a brutal weekend. But you guys all survived. Give yourselves a hand for making it as far as. So, before I jump right in, I was just talking with these guys over here, and they say, "Oh, you guys, we love ending our season this way. Oh, it's so much fun. Thanks for coming. And by the way, if you don't clean up all your crap, the snow's going to bury it, and you'll never see it again. So please, please gather up all your stuff. They're going to be closing this track down for the winter as soon as we leave. So please gather your stuff up and try not to make their job too much harder than it has to be. By the way, your staff and your ambulance and your safety crew and all those guys, some of them are still here drinking beer. Let them know you appreciate it. Okay, so let's get right down to it. I believe this was a wire-to-wire win. As you know, we care very little for who wins overall. We find that a very minor accomplishment. However, they did it in pretty good style, and all of those who came into the penalty box yesterday and today and said, "It is impossible. There is no way I can have no contact with anyone." Well, these guys do it every single time, and that's how they win races. Very nicely done. 281, the Silver Errors. Also, your Class A victory. Nicely done, guys. Come here and get your $400 in nickels, of which I believe you want to do something with some of it.
Yes, we'd like to donate it to the charity.
Donating their $400 in nickels to the Speedway Children's Charity Fund. Mostly because they are too lazy to carry the nickels to their car.
And it's right there.
Hey, drive Mercedes. Who cares up there?
There you go. There you go. Class B, the bad class, car 188, the black. This is an Acura, right? This isn't an Integra. This is a Legend, the horrible black Acura Legend right there. Very nicely done. $500 in nickels. Unless you want to do something with that, you know, honorable. Well, think about it, yeah. It's just to say hella, but no.
No, you go.
All of you go. All of you. We'll all go. You all go.
And Class C, the, wow, really? The horrible, incredibly always slow brick Mustang with the giant wing on top. $600 nickels goes to you guys. Nicely done. Very nice done. Phil, do you want to talk about the heroic fix?
Sure.
Everybody, we know you love him. Every time you come in, he's so nice to you.
So, these guys, they had what was on paper a relatively simple problem to solve, but because they're Lemons racers who have chosen a very terrible car that the popular opinion around these parts says is good, they made this 2-hour problem into a 90-hour problem. What they did was they blew up their engine in practice. No big deal, most common engine ever made. Fine, we'll find another one. So rather than just go to the junkyard, they got on Craigslist at about 1 in the morning, called somebody up, woke them up, and bought her car to use as an engine donor. And it turned out not quite the same engine, not quite running right. Nothing worked quite as well as it should have. Should have been a 2-hour swap. took from Friday till this morning. Meanwhile, making a giant Super Fun site in their pit space, the whole deal, and the whole sequence was rather awesome. I speak, of course, of the Kim Jong-il North Korean People's Army Camaro with the big pumpkin on it, and their Buick Roadmaster motor car.
All right, give me your trophy. Badly done, guys. Very badly done. Congratulations. The I Got Screwed trophy. Now, this team screwed themselves, but they screwed themselves so spectacularly and so royally, we had to acknowledge it anyway. So these guys took one of the simplest, lightest, fastest, most reliable cars, sort of in all road racing history. These cars ran in the 70s and 80s. They just dominated their class at NCCA. Everybody loved them. You couldn't kill them. And they have screwed this thing up about 8 ways from Sunday. Now this time they tried to get even more clever. They decided, well, it's a front-wheel drive car, but, you know, that's not good enough. And, oh, yeah, you can get the normal engine, but that's not good enough either. We're going to get all fancy. So they put an all-wheel drive 325iX platform in their horrible two-wheel drive car. That didn't work. Their fuel system was totally illegal. That didn't work. They had to spend from Friday Tech until, I don't know, 3 hours ago, trying to even get legal on this car. They finally passed that. By the way, we were a little concerned because when they would try to crank their car, the distributor, you could literally see it describing about a 20-degree arc as it went around. We knew that wasn't good. But of all the things we didn't expect to blow up was a valve dropping. When they finally got out, after about 2 laps, a valve dropped right into the piston of the car. They never got out? Oh, they never even got out. All right, sorry, I correct myself. Testing the car in the paddock, ready to go out. The one thing that was stock that was not supposed to blow up, blew up, which was the actual engine of the car. This is 87 Rusty Dragon Racing, the red Gull. If you don't recognize that car, you think they never got out. Give it up to So Judge Phil set a challenge. There's 2 classes of cars at this race where all the guys said, man, these are the greatest cars ever. They will dominate. And those were General Motors cars and Volvo 850s. 21st century General Motors cars and Volvo 850s. And Phil, of course, knew better, knew that these were all incredibly terrible cars and none would do well. The winner was what? 70th overall out of all of these guys who were going to dominate. So the fastest car of that group was a Volvo 850, shocking. $499, fully torqued, the wood grain Volvo. Where are they?
The judges' choice in this race. Now I gotta say, I lost my temper with, about 50 of you guys. I mean, all this denial of responsibility and saying that up is down and black is white and I didn't do it and I was an innocent victim and just totally incoherent stuff that I couldn't understand because of the New England accent. It all kind of put together in one big, fat, complaining New England bad driver. So I figured this time I'd talk to Judge Rich here, who's actually from this state. Yeah, I know. Although he fled to Denver 20 years ago. And we decided that we were going to give this trophy to the highest placing team that got no black flag. And that turned out to be really hard to figure out because almost everybody got some. Then we found right near the very top, might have been P2 even, the black Alfa Romeo Milano of Procrastination had 0 black flags. right, so tell me it's impossible to avoid them again?
It's impossible to avoid them again.
It cannot be done.
It's not our fault. It's not our fault. He hit me. They find their way there.
All right, for the organizer's choice, Little J.
There are good racers and there are great racers. And then there are some racers that are just so obsessed with lemons. You guys know who I'm talking about. We heard about this car. We heard about another car in the past that was going to be a surprise. It was the talk of the town in New Jersey. This time we heard about a surprise and we kind of rolled our eyes at it. Oh, another surprise. The last surprise had everybody talking. This one kind of had a couple racers heartbroken. I saw you looking at this car going, oh, he did it again. That's right. I'm talking about the pun-tastic Honda Accord DN card for organizer's choice. Really give it up for Speed Cop this time. He had his appendix removed last night, and he came here this morning. What do you do? What do you do? Woo! The organizer. This guy.
Yep.
Yeah, but we think that getting the appendix out last night, that's a little bit of attention grabbing, Jeff. That's a little needy right there.
What's my appendix? Who wants to buy it?
All right.
Did you get to keep it? No.
The IOE. This award was the subject of much heated debate at this race. But before we actually finish that, I do just want to back up Phil's impression. So I don't know what's going on with New Englanders, but I got to tell you, y'all never did anything wrong as far as you're concerned. Yeah, and you guys are also, you're all tire experts. Like every time you came in, oh, the tires are too hot. Oh, the tires are too cold. Oh, the tires are greasy. Oh, the tires are chunking. You know what? You guys, you just never admit that you're wrong. And after a while, I gotta say, that got to be a little bit endearing. But not just so. Alright, so we had a lot of discussions about the IOE here. This was a really tough one. There was nothing that just leapt out and said, you know, I'm the obvious candidate, because there were some really, really spectacularly terrible cars, but they did terrible. And then there were some, you know, just sort of mildly okay cars, and they did mildly okay. And we went back, and, you know, we had a lot of debate about it, but at the end of the day, I pulled, you know, the organizer's fiat out, no pun intended, and I said, I'm just going to say this car is awesome, and for them, they did so incredibly well that they deserve recognition. Now, granted, they finished about 10th from the very bottom of the list. However, that was not because they were blown up, and it's not because they got any penalties. It's because they were just staggeringly butt-ass slow. But they were out there, and even better than that, unlike some, you know, we're not going to talk about it necessarily, but unlike some past performances, they didn't get in anybody's way, they didn't cause any major nuclear catastrophes. They were just doing their own deal incredibly slowly. So, the IOE goes, in its final outing in lemons, you'll all be happy to know, to the Rolls Royce. Tuck in for the winter, button up,
Let's get out of here.
roll down your windows, eat a lot of bacon every morning. We'll see you next year. Bye-bye.